Hello and welcome to the Florida Tips for Brits podcast. I'm your host Andrew, and in this week's episode we're going to be taking a look at some pro tips for beginners at Walt Disney World. So we'll warn you in advance, if you've been to Walt Disney World a number of times, a lot of the stuff that we're probably going to go over in this podcast is not going to really probably come as news to you. But if you're a bit of a rookie, or you're perhaps going for the first time, or maybe you've been once before, but maybe it was a long time ago, this podcast's probably going to have something in there for you, because we're going to cover not everything, but just little things that I've kind of experienced or picked up on over the years of going that I think that if you're going for the first time, you might not necessarily know about, or you might not even give it any thought. And so, yeah, we're going to cover stuff like that. So I don't want to waste anybody's time. If you've been lots of times before, this might not be the podcast for you. Not going to lie. If you still want to hang around and see what I've got to say, thanks very much. We appreciate you watching and listening. But for everybody else, hello and welcome. You will notice, once again, I don't have Kirsty with me this week, mainly because she's busy. She's doing something else. She had some other commitments. So I am on my own this week. But no matter. We're going to get through it all anyway, and we're gonna hopefully save you some time, maybe save you a little bit of money, and just generally help you have a lovely time on your trip to Walt Disney World in Florida. So, without any further ado, let's get on with it. Let's get on with tip number 1. So, we're going to start with the first tip, and the first tip is we might as well start right at the very beginning. You're going to need to make a theme park reservation. So if you sat there thinking, what is a theme park reservation? What's this? I've never heard of it. You're in the right place, because this is the sort of stuff we're going to be covering. A theme park reservation at the moment at Walt Disney World, if you want to visit the Magic Kingdom, say, you cannot just turn up to the Magic Kingdom on spec and expect to be let in. You must make a reservation for the day you'd like to visit. So in order to do this, you have to have your ticket, your admission, linked via the My Disney Experience app. And then you can visit a calendar and see if there's availability for the days you'd like to go on. So like, say you want to go on the 20th of August, you'd go on there, and if the box on the 20th of August was green, that means that basically there's full availability. You know, if it's amber, it means there's some availability. I'd have to double check, but basically, sometimes, like for example, you might want to go to Epcot. Epcot might not have any availability, but you might still be able to go to Magic Kingdom or Animal Kingdom or Hollywood Studios. So you know, there's a little bit more planning involved these days. Now, the theme park reservation system is going away soon. So if you hear people talk about you not needing it, if your trip is after the 8th of January 2024, you don't need to worry about theme park reservations anymore. Okay, that thankfully it's going away for date-based tickets. So there are still some provisos, like for example, if you're an annual pass holder, you still need to make a theme park reservation. But if you're kind of booking 2 weeks at Art of Animation, and you're booking a ticket, and you normally have to say, don't you, if you're booking like a 2-week ticket, they say, when are you arriving? Right, you've got like 20 days or something to use your 14 days up, or 18 days to use your 14 days up, or however it works these days. I have an annual pass, so it's a bit, I can't remember. If you go on the website, it will tell you. If you put some dates in, you are automatically kind of guaranteed entry into the theme parks, but that's only from the 9th of January. So if you're traveling before then, your trip is, say, in the next few months, or before the 9th of January, you're going to need to make a theme park reservation. So make sure you get your reservations in. It doesn't honestly seem to be a problem at the moment. Like when they first brought out theme park reservations, you'd hear like horror stories of people turning up for holidays, not knowing that they needed to make a reservation, and then trying to make a reservation only to find out that there were no reservations available for any theme parks, and so they literally couldn't go to Walt Disney World. That honestly doesn't seem to be happening anymore. I think at this point, Disney's pretty much back at full capacity. They've opened it up at full capacity, and I think the theme park reservation system is just literally so they know where people are on a particular day. I don't think it's really restricting people going into theme parks these days. I could be wrong. Don't take me take that for granted. So definitely get your days booked. But it really doesn't seem to be a problem getting a day that you want for the park that you want these days. On that, a lot of people have questions about this regarding the park hopping. So the way it works is you pick your original park. So you want to go to Magic Kingdom. You manage to get a reservation for Magic Kingdom, but you'd like to go to Epcot in the evening. After 2 p.m, you can go over to Epcot. That's the way it works. You don't need to book a separate reservation. After 2 p.m, you can just hop to any park that you like, provided that you have been in through the touch points at your original choice. So if you say don't want to go to Animal Kingdom, but that's the only park you can get a reservation for, you could still make a reservation for Animal Kingdom with a view to going to, say, Magic Kingdom later on in the day, but you would actually have to visit Animal Kingdom and touch in through the touch points. Even if you literally just touched in, walked round and just left again, you wouldn't be able to use the park hopping. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt. I wanted to get it out of the way early on in this podcast because nobody likes the theme. I don't think anybody likes the theme park reservation system. I don't want to say nobody. Some people probably like it. I hate it. It's horrible. Being an annual pass holder, I just used to love being able to go whenever the heck I felt like it. I thought that was kind of the point of having an annual pass. I feel like this has taken a lot of that away. But anyway, that's perhaps a story for another day. All right, so the next tip I want to give people is, I would say, check the theme park operating hours. Now, I know that sounds probably super basic, but it's not as straightforward as you think. Many of the Disney theme parks vary their opening hours often, okay, for a number of reasons or for no reason at all. They'll just decide one day, oh, Magic Kingdom is closing at 8 p.m. tonight. Why? There's a private party. Magic Kingdom's closing at 6 p.m. tonight. Why? Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party's on. So you've got to be aware of things like that, because when that does happen and they do close early, you don't get things like fireworks and stuff like that. So if you, like, for example, at the moment, Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween party has started. I know it's August, but it started. So now on certain days of the week, the park will be shutting at 6 p.m. for regular daytime guests. So if you're not going to that Halloween party, you will be asked to basically leave at 6 p.m, which means that no fireworks and things like that. So you have to kind of bear that in mind, really, when it comes to, operating hours. Epcot seems to be fairly static, but they do change. So the next tip I would give you after you've made your theme park reservation is check that calendar and make sure what time that the operating hours are for that day, because you don't want to be thinking, haha, I'll get there for rope drop at 9 o'clock only to find out that it actually opened 8 a.m. and 7:30 for resort guests, and the queues are already super long and stuff like that. So make sure you know what your theme park operating hours are. Okay, the next tip I want to talk about is actually getting into the theme parks. Now, first kind of aside that I just want to mention here is relating to the Magic Kingdom. The Magic Kingdom is different to the other theme parks in that it kind of exists separate from the parking lot. So if you're driving a car, when you arrive at the Magic Kingdom, you're not actually at the Magic Kingdom, you're at the transportation and ticket centre, or you're in the parking lot, and then you go to the transportation and ticket centre. This is where you clear security. You then have to get either a monorail or a ferry boat, or I think you can walk these days, but it's kind of a long walk, to the Magic Kingdom. Okay? This is all going to take you time. So when you turn up at the Magic Kingdom in your car and you park your car up and you think, brilliant, I'm here, it's 10 to 8, I'm going to be there for rope drop, you're not. You're going to miss it. If the park's opening at 8 o'clock and you're parking your car at like 7:45, realistically, you're not going to get to them touch points till probably 8:15, because you've got to walk to the transportation and ticket centre, you've got to clear security, then you've got to queue up, get on a ferry boat or get a monorail over to the Magic Kingdom, where you get off with a bunch of other people, and then you've got to queue up to go through the touch points. So by the time you get to Main Street, and I've done it myself, I've timed it, it literally can take like 25-30 minutes. So just bear those kind of travel times in mind. Second thing, when you get to the bag checkpoint, assuming that you've got a bag, or failing that, the touch points to get into the theme park, there's going to be a bunch of them. Okay? Look around, use your eyes, because what you usually find is that most people go straight up the middle. And actually, if you look to the far left or the far right, there'll be bag check lines or touch points to get into the theme park that will have a much shorter line if there's even anybody at them whatsoever. There's usually a cast member like waving as if to say like, hello, we're open over here, come and check this back. Because most people, they just see a line and they join it. It's human nature, isn't it? You see a line, you think, oh, that's where I need to go, you join the line. But actually, if you just kind of cast your eyes off to the left or right, oftentimes much shorter line and you get into the theme park much more quickly. The next tip I want to give people is that it rains in Florida quite a lot. Quite a lot, especially in the summertime. So you need to plan accordingly. What I mean by this is really consider whether you want to ride a lot of the outdoor rides. So things like, let's say you're at Hollywood Studios and you want to ride Slinky Dog, for example. Good idea would be to get that done in the morning, because in the afternoon, especially in summertime, there's a strong chance that there might be a thunderstorm or something like that. And if there's lightning in the area, they will close that ride down. And you don't want to miss out riding something because the weather's coming. I mean, not to mention the fact that you're potentially going to get very wet as well. But they will actually close a lot of rides. So Big Thunder Mountain closed. Slinky Dog Dash, that'll be closed. Lots of stuff like that will just close down for the bad weather. So bear that in mind. Secondly, talking about getting soaked, you might want to consider taking an umbrella and or a poncho. Especially if you're taking a bag, a poncho, they'll fold down to virtually nothing. Get them stuffed in the backpack just in case those storms come in, because like I say, in summertime they're often and they're torrential, and there can be a lot of lightning and they can really dump a lot of water in a short period of time. So just kind of be ready for that. What I like to do, we go in summer a lot because obviously we've got kids and stuff, so it's a good opportunity for us to get out there, but it is extremely hot and you do get those rainstorms. What we try to do is we try to get to the theme parks early, get a lot of rides done, and then knowing that, generally speaking, 3 o'clock-ish, things are going to start getting a bit wet. We'll try and either leave for a break, so go back to the villa or whatever for a break, or that might be a good time to go and grab something to eat, or perhaps go and see a show. Or so, just be aware that can happen, and just try and plan your days accordingly so you don't get caught out. Because rain doesn't have to ruin your time at Walt Disney World. It's going to happen. But if you kind of think, right, I just really want to ride Big Thunder Mountain, and then it just gets rained out for the rest of the day, and you miss out on riding it, you're going to be sad. So just bear that in mind. It does rain. So the next tip I want to give you is about avoiding the lines when it comes to things like food and the purchase of food in the theme parks and the purchase of like merchandise. Basically, the way to go here is mobile order. So you can get away with it if you're willing to eat your lunch early or late. That's a good tip as well if you really don't want to use mobile order. Like we honestly, my kids are normally like chomping at the bit. We're normally waiting for places to open at like 10:30, 11 o'clock. We'll go and have our lunch at 11 and there'll be no line. By the time we're leaving at like, 11:45 or something like that, there'll be a big line forming, any restaurant. That's just the way it is. So either eat your food at weird, slightly unusual times, not weird times, but slightly unusual times, maybe a bit early or a bit late to avoid queues. Another way of doing it, though, is to use the mobile ordering system. So you basically use the My Disney Experience app, place your order for your food. You can pay for it there as well. They basically send you a message when it's ready or give you a window to go and pick it up. And then you go to a completely separate line, which is just mobile order pickup. You go and pick up your food. Job's a good one. That's really good. The next bit is, I know a lot of people might already know about mobile ordering food, but the next bit that a lot of people miss is that you can actually mobile order like merchandise from a lot of the shops. So what you're going to be looking for is on the end of a stand or in like a shop window, they'll have like QR codes like this. And what you do is you scan the QR code and you can actually go ahead and check out with your merchandise via the app. So you can pay for it and everything and just leave. So you get, you pick up your plushie or whatever, you scan the plushie, you scan the QR code, and you can just literally check out via the app and just leave. So it just avoids you having to stand in like huge lines if you just want to nip in and buy a set of ears or something like that. It's really useful. I didn't know about this for a really long time. I'd probably seen it loads of times and just ignored it. I'm not a big one for buying merch personally, but this really appeals to me because I also hate standing in lines to buy merch. So that's a really good way of skipping some lines as well. Right, so the next tip I want to talk about is relating again to food, and I'm going to talk about getting food delivered to your hotel. Okay, so a lot of people, especially British people, we don't think about doing this because we don't feel like it's almost like it's not the done thing. You can totally have food delivered to your Disney hotel. Okay, like it's fine. So you can use like mobile food. You know, you can order pizza from Domino's and have it delivered to the reception and just go get it. But moreover, you can actually have groceries delivered to reception. You know, we're talking like, you know, supplies for your room, bottled water, toothpaste because you've forgotten it or whatever, you know, a toothbrush because you've forgotten it. So my advice here would be to get some kind of grocery apps on your phone. So I think like popular ones are like Garden Grocer, Shipped, Instacart, obviously you've got Amazon Fresh, things like that, because it's completely fine. You can go ahead, go online, order the bits and pieces that you've either forgotten or that you'd just like to have in your room, get it shipped to wherever you're staying. So let's Animal Kingdom Lodge. You're staying at Animal Kingdom Lodge. You just put in the address, say put in Animal Kingdom Lodge, give them a reference name or whatever, and they'll literally just, you can have it delivered to the reception. It's totally fine. Disney are fine with you doing it. Loads of people do it. But like, I was really shocked when we first, I mean, this is going back, gosh, to probably 2006. We stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge. And that's why I use that as an example then. But we stayed at Animal Kingdom Lodge and we literally saw people having like pizza delivered from like Papa John's and stuff. And we're like, can you do that? And they were like, yeah, it's fine. So it's a really good, like, it's very convenient to just go on your app and have stuff ordered and delivered to you. And B, it's going to be way cheaper to get it from like one of these online delivery places than it is kind of visiting the dreaded hotel convenience store, you know, because you're paying a premium for that convenience, aren't you? Well, this way you can kind of have your cake and eat it. So yeah, get those apps downloaded to your phone and yeah, get stuff delivered if you need it. Why not? It's totally fine. You can completely do it. All right, so the next tip I want to give people is for those of you wanting a Gideon's cookie. A Gideon's cookie. This is actually a thing. It will probably, if you want one of these, it may well be the longest line that you stand in for the entire holiday. Because Gideon's Bakehouse at Disney Springs, literally, and I'm not exaggerating, oftentimes has like a 3-hour wait to get cookies. Seriously. Personally, I don't get it. They're perfectly nice and everything, but like, would I stand in line for 3 hours? No, I wouldn't. But lots of people do on the daily. And if you are one of those people who is desperate for a Gideon's cookie, there's a way to actually get them and avoid standing in such a massive line. Basically, Gideon's do have another location, and it's at Orlando's East End Market. So yes, this will involve you having to drive to Orlando's East End Market and back, but that is definitely still going to save you time over like a 3-hour wait at Disney Springs for a cookie. So if you're desperate for a cookie, maybe have a drive to Orlando's East End Market rather than trying to pick one up from Disney Springs. Alrighty then, so the next tip I want to talk about is how to spend less time standing in lines. Now, of course, you can pony up the extra cash and pay for Disney Genie Plus, but I'm talking about getting shorter lines without having to spend extra money. If you are interested in Disney Genie Plus, by the way, and you want to know what it is, or you don't understand it, I have done a video on this channel and I'll link it in the description down below here, which I go into a lot more detail about what that is. But basically, really, really short, you pay money and you get shorter lines. Okay, we're not going to talk about that now. What we're talking about is how to get, you know, kind of spend less time in line without having to pay extra money, basically. A really good way to do this, I mean, A, getting to the parks early usually gets you a shorter line, but B, look for single rider lines. Now, there's not a great deal of them at Walt Disney World. In fact, I think there's only 4. You've got Expedition Everest at Animal Kingdom. You've got Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run and Rock and Roller Coaster at Hollywood Studios. And you've got Test Track at Epcot. That is basically going to be your lot when it comes to single rider lines. But if you don't mind having your party separated, or you are in fact a single rider, these lines oftentimes are much shorter than the standby lines. I say oftentimes because it's not always the case, especially with stuff like Test Track, which is weird. But anyway, check it out. You might get a shorter line. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is not so much about reducing the length of the line as such, but it's more about saving you having to queue up twice. And that is the rider swap system that they use at, well, they use it at Walt Disney World. They actually use it at Universal Studios as well. And I guess a lot of other theme parks. But we're talking about Walt Disney World, so we'll stay on track. Basically, what this allows you to do is your whole party, let's say it's mum, dad, and 2 children, and one of the children isn't tall enough to ride Rock and Roller Coaster, but the other kiddo wants to ride, mum and dad all want to ride. You can all queue up together as a family, as one group, and you basically tell the cast member at the start of the line and then at the end of the line that you're using the rider swap system. And what they'll do is they basically allow, let's say I went on with one of my kids, and I'd go on with a kid, and then I'd come off, and then my wife would be able to ride. Now, I think the child can actually ride again. This changes all the time, but when we last did it, which was fairly recently, we were allowed to, my daughter, only one of them was tall enough to do the ride. So I went on, and she came on with me, and then my wife went on, and she went on with my wife. But basically, it just means that you queue up once, and then everybody gets to ride it rather than having to go through the whole rigmarole of, imagine, like, I queue up for 45 minutes to ride Rock and Roller Coaster, and then my wife goes and stands in line for 45 minutes to ride Rock and Roller Coaster. I'm sure people have done it because they didn't know that rider swap was a thing, but you're listening to this podcast, so you know it's a thing. And if that sounds like you, definitely ask a cast member about using rider swap, because you don't want to stand in line twice. And you don't want to miss out on riding something that you really want to do either, Seems a shame, doesn't it? Okay, another tip I want to give you now about visiting Walt Disney World, and that is that you can get some free stuff at Walt Disney World. Like, seriously, it exists, free stuff. I mean, it's not free, is it? You've paid a great deal of money to be there. It's complimentary. Let's say that. Let's not call it free. Let's call it complimentary. I don't know. It sounds better if you say it's free, though, doesn't it? But complimentary stuff that you can get. You can get stuff for no money at Walt Disney World, is what I'm trying to get across. That was a really rambling start to that. I apologise. The first thing, which is super important, especially when it's hot outside, is you can get free iced water. Not just water from water fountains, although they exist all over the park. Not just fill up your water bottle from said water fountain, because those also exist now, bottle filling stations. But you can actually get iced water from, like, the quick service counters, so like Cosmic Rays and places like that at Magic Kingdom. You pop in, just simply ask for a cup of ice water, and they will just provide it for you. Free of charge, great way to stay hydrated. Tastes good as well. Tastes better than the stuff out those drinking fountains. Truth be told, all the drinking fountains are perfectly safe. It can taste a little bit weird. So that's my preference if I want to get some free water. The other thing you can get for free, which is actually a really kind of nice one, like a nice keepsake, is if you visit places like guest relations in the theme parks, you can actually get what they call celebration pins or celebration buttons. Now, that's a badge to us being British, but basically you can just go in and tell them that it's your birthday, or it's your first visit, or you've just got married, or it's your anniversary, or I think pretty much whatever you want, and they will give you a Disney branded badge saying, I'm celebrating my first visit, or I'm celebrating my wedding anniversary, or my birthday, or whatever the case may be. And that's just a really nice, free kind of memento of your visit. So it's not often you get stuff that's free or complimentary. from Disney. So this is a really nice one if you are going for the first time. Maybe make sure that you spend 10 minutes going visiting guest relations and pick one of those up, because it's a great thing, great keepsake. All right, so the next little tip I want to talk about is if you are buying merchandise, you can actually get it customized to make it even more special. So obviously not everything, but a lot of things you can get customized. Ears, for example, you can get them embroidered with names or whatever. At Magic Kingdom, there's a place called the Chapeau, I believe, that does the embroidering these days. And all our kids have had them done. They've all got different sets of ears from the first time they ever went, ranging from, I think Ava got a princess one. I think Olivia got Olaf. I want to say Isla got Rapunzel, or did she get Ariel? I forget, but they've all got sets of ears. Noah got the classic Mickey ones, and they've all got the names embroidered on them from the first visits, basically. So it's a really nice kind of way to make, something like that extra special. A lot of the Christmas decorations that you can get from the Christmas shop in Magic Kingdom, you can pay like an extra, I don't know how much it is these days. Last time we had it done, it was about $3, and they will customize your Christmas decoration for you. So there's loads of customization options available as well. Just ask a cast member in the stores if there's anything like that's available, because a lot of people just don't even know that it's a thing, but it is. So that's it. Hopefully this podcast will help you on your trip to Walt Disney World to have a more enjoyable time, or just make things a little bit easier, or at least save you having to wait 3 hours for a cookie. I think that's the least I'd like to achieve here. I definitely won't have covered everything, so please feel free to leave me your tips and tricks in the comments down below. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.